Did you know, in the books, Daemon deliberately allowed Rhaenyra's children to die so his children by Rhaenyra would inherit the Iron Throne from her? Gyldayn writes, "Surprisingly, Prince Daemon agreed with his wife. In the Stepstones, my enemies learnt to run and hide when they saw Caraxus's wings or heard his roar, but they had no dragons of their own. It is no easy thing for a man to be a dragon slayer, but dragons can kill dragons, and have. Any maester who has ever studied the history of Valyria can tell you that. I will not throw our dragons against the usurpers unless I have no other choice. There are other ways to use them, better ways." Then the prince laid his own strategies before the Black Council. So there is a twisted theory that Daemon always wanted his children by Rhaenyra to succeed him, and so he deliberately devised a strategy where he would not be forced to protect Rhaenyra's children by Lenore should it come to dragon-on-dragon battle by placing himself at Harrenhal. So, like we saw in the show, Daemon probably should have flown side by side with Jace and Luke to prevent their deaths. But by being at Harrenhal, Jace and Luke can be picked off one at a time by the Greens without Daemon incurring any risk to himself. Gyldayn writes, "Rhaenyra must have a coronation of her own to answer Aegon's. Afterward, they would send out ravens, calling on the lords of the Seven Kingdoms to declare their allegiance to their true queen. We must fight this war with words before we go to battle." The prince declared, "The lords of the great houses held the key to victory," Daemon insisted. "Their bannermen and vassals would follow where they led. Aegon the usurper had won the allegiance of the Lannisters of Castle Rock, and Lord Tyrell of Highgarden was a muling boy in swaddling clothes, whose mother, acting as his regent, would most like align the reach with her over-mighty bannermen, the Hightowers. But the rest of the realm's great lords had yet to declare." So Daemon might be positioning himself to have the Riverlands support his children by Rhaenyra to claim the Iron Throne after defeating the Greens, which is the most strategic location to have after the Hightowers are crushed, to take King's Landing and install Prince Aegon, son of Daemon and Rhaenyra, on the Iron Throne. Gyldayn writes, "Storm's End will stand with us," Princess Rhaenys said. "She herself was of that blood on her mother's side, and the late Bourmond had always been the staunchest of friends." Well, as we know, Rhaenys was completely wrong, and Rhaenyra was incredibly lazy not to secure the second most strategic castle in Westeros to take King's Landing. Gyldayn writes, "Prince Daemon had good reason to hope that the Maid of the Vale might bring the Eyrie to their side as well. Aegon would surely seek the support of Pike, he judged. Only with the support of the Iron Islands could Aegon hope to surpass the strength of House Valyrion at sea. But the Ironmen were notoriously fickle, and Dalton Greyjoy loved blood and battle. He might easily be persuaded to support the princess. The North was too remote to be of much importance in the fight, the council judged. By the time the Starks gathered their banners and marched south, the war might well be over, which left only the Riverlords, a notoriously quarrelsome lot ruled over, in name at least, by House Tully of Riverrun. We have friends in the Riverlands, the prince said, though not all of them dare show their colors yet. We need a place where they can gather, a toehold on the mainland large enough to host a sizable host, and strong enough to hold against whatever forces the usurper can send against us. He showed the lords a map. Here, Harrenhal. Daemon really is the Tywin Lannister of House of the Dragon, since both men immediately identify Harrenhal as the most strategic castle in the realm to threaten King's Landing and check the advance of any approaching army from getting to the capital without passing close enough to Harrenhal to incur a battle. Daemon literally surrounds the Greens in King's Landing while also preventing the Lannisters and Hightower armies from reaching the capital just by his presence, which is exactly what Tywin does. Renly would rather go fight Stannis at Storm's End than risk an engagement with Tywin Lannister at the walls of King's Landing, because from Renly's perspective, He thought Stannis would be easier to defeat than an unbloodied Tywin waiting for him at Harrenhal. Gyldayn writes, "And so it was decided Prince Daemon would lead the assault on Harrenhal riding Caraxes. Princess Rhaenyra would remain on Dragonstone until she recovered her strength. The Valyrian fleet would close off the gullet, sailing forth from Dragonstone and Driftmark to block all ships entering or leaving Blackwater Bay. We do not have the strength to take King's Landing by storm." Prince Daemon said, "No more than our foes could hope to capture Dragonstone. But Aegon is a green boy, and green boys are easily provoked. Mayhaps we can goad him into a rash attack." The Sea Snake would command the fleet, whilst Princess Rhaenys flew overhead to keep their foes from attacking their ships with dragons. This is the wrong approach to win the war outright, but the right approach to secretly kill off both the Greens and Rhaenyra's children by Lenore, since Daemon, Rhaenys, Rhaenyra should have just waited on Dragonstone together for the Greens to attack them. Have the Valyrian fleet act as scouts with signals to warn Dragonstone of the approach of any green dragons, while the Blacks found dragon riders for Vermithor, Silverwing, Sea Smoke, and any others. Aegon the Conqueror proved that even if you have all 7 kingdoms declaring their armies for Aegon II, so long as you take out the green dragons, then you win. But obviously still try and get some of the Lords of Westeros to support you, but send ravens and not dragon riders. Gyldayn writes, "Meanwhile, ravens would go forth to Riverrun, the Eyrie, Pike, and Storm's End to gain the allegiance of their lords." Then spoke the Queen's eldest son, Jace. "We should bear those messages," he said. "Dragons will win the lords over quicker than ravens." His brother Lucerys agreed, insisting that he and Jace were men, or near enough to make no matter. Jace, Luke, and Baelor are brave, and would all be perfect as support for Rhaenys, Daemon, and Rhaenyra. The Greens only have 2 strong dragon riders, while the Blacks have 3. So in those battles, while Aegon and Aemond are engaged in battle with Rhaenys, Daemon, or Rhaenyra at Dragonstone, have Jace, Luke, and Baelor try and snipe them with Dragonfire. Or better yet, just go and get more dragon riders to make it 9-on-4. Gyldayn writes, as Jace tells his mother, "Our uncle calls us Strongs, but when the lords see us on Dragonback, they will know that for a lie. Only Targaryens ride dragons." Mushroom tells us that the Sea Snake grumbled at this, insisting that the 3 boys were Valyrians. Yet he smiled as he said it, with pride in his voice. The show did have a really nice scene in Season 1 where Corlys talked to Luke about inheriting Driftmark, and the show really needed more scenes like this to flesh out the character relationships, and obviously when George R.R. Martin was involved, Season 1 did stuff like this, whereas Season 2 and 3 failed completely at this. Gyldayn writes, "Even young Joffrey chimed in, offering to mount his own dragon Tyraxus and join his brothers. Princess Rhaenyra forbade that. Joff was but 11, but Jacaerys was 14, Lucerys 13, bold and handsome lads, skilled in arms who had long served as squires. If you go as messengers, not as knights," she told them. "You must take no part in any fighting." Not until both boys had sworn solemn oaths upon a copy of the 7-pointed star would her grace consent to using them as her envoys. It was decided that Jace, being the older of the 2, would take the longer, more dangerous task, flying first to the Eyrie to treat with the Lady of the Vale, then to White Harbour to win over Lord Manderley, and lastly to Winterfell to meet with Lord Stark. Luke's mission would be shorter and safer. He was to fly to Storm's End, where it was expected that Boris Baratheon would give him a warm welcome. Honestly, the Blacks' incompetence for not securing House Baratheon cannot be overstated. This probably dragged out the war for 2 years because had they secured the Stormlands, Daemon could have held off the Lannisters and Hightower armies from reaching King's Landing while the Valyrians and Baratheons stormed the capital, and when the Greens deploy their dragons to fight, they would have no army to support them, and the Black Dragons could choose the most opportune time to engage them. Gyldayn writes, "A hasty coronation was held the next day. The arrival of Sir Stephen Darklyn, late of Aegon's Kingsguard, was an occasion of much joy on Dragonstone, especially when it was learned that he and his fellow loyalists, Turncloak Sir Otto would name them when offering a reward for their capture, had brought the stolen crown of King Jaehaerys the Conciliator. 300 sets of eyes looked on as Prince Daemon Targaryen placed the old king's crown on the head of his wife, proclaiming her Rhaenyra of House Targaryen, first of her name, Queen of the Andals, the Rhoynar, and the First Men. The prince claimed for himself the style Protector of the Realm, and Rhaenyra named her eldest son Jaehaerys the Prince of Dragonstone and heir to the Iron Throne. Her first act as queen was to declare Sir Otto Hightower and Queen Alicent traitors and rebels. As for my half-brothers and my sweet sister Helena," she announced, "they have been led astray by the council of evil men. Let them come to Dragonstone, bend the knee, and ask my forgiveness, and I shall gladly spare their lives and take them back into my heart. For they are my own blood, and no man or woman is as cursed as the kinslayer." I think silence would have been the best response, or send envoys to pretend to negotiate with the Greens while Rhaenyra recovers from her miscarriage and they find more dragon riders. Time is Rhaenyra's friend, and so she should play it out. Treat this like a Cold War with nuclear weapons, but Rhaenyra's stockpile of nukes will increase faster than Aegon's, so long as Rhaenyra doesn't deploy hers unnecessarily. Rhaenyra has the strongest fortress to protect her dragons, Aegon doesn't. She also has a fleet of ships at her disposal, so the Greens are constantly vulnerable sitting in King's Landing, waiting. So use that. Don't let Daemon leave. Rhaenyra should consolidate her forces and wait. Time and defense aren't exciting, but they play directly to Rhaenyra's strengths. This is literally what Tywin did for most of A Clash of Kings, and it won him the war, while making too many moves can lead to unnecessary blunders like we saw with Robb, Jaime, and Balon. Anyway, subscribe for more.